Hello friends, Dork in the road here. That is my Honda Transalp 750, and behind us is the Oregon BDR. We are doing the first off-road test ride, first impressions on the Transalp today, on the best place I can imagine, Section 4 of the Oregon BDR. So it's slightly misleading right here because it's actually this paved road for a little while, but it won't be long before we get off onto the gravel. We're going to test out the off-road ability of the new Transalp. I have had it on a little gravel at home, but this is the first real extended kind of non-pavement test. Now, this is Section 4. It runs from Sisters to Detroit. We are at Lava Lake Snow Park, so we're on Highway 20. So I did skip the hard part of Section 4, and I did that because, as so many of you have observed, there's no skid plate or other protection on this thing. The first part of Section 4, while I think it's doable on this bike, is riddled with big, chunky, rocky sections, and I can just imagine coming down hard with my weight on the stock suspension as I ride over a rock and just either dinging the crap out of that exhaust, or the oil sump is down there like a shark fin sticking down below the motor for no reason at all and just obliterating this bike, or at least doing something very bad to it. So I've got protection on the way. We'll do the more technical stuff when that occurs, but I just wanted to get out, get off road. What the hell was that? A caterpillar just fell on my hand. That caterpillar literally just fell on my hand. I'm not even under a tree. I guess he wants to go for a ride. Let's go, buddy. It's not the most hardcore, but it's the Oregon BDR, and we're going to have a wonderful reward at the end of this section. We're going to stop in Detroit and camp for the night and maybe meet up with a very special guest. So I'm tired of talking and I'm ready to ride. Let's ride. There's some really fun, twisty, tight, paved road for a little while, and we might as well just keep it in sport mode for that. I will say this thing's remarkably easy to move around. Wheeling it backwards just then was very easy. Part of that is because I can get my feet down a lot farther than I can on the Tenere, but part of it is just it's a lighter, easier to move around bike. There's a lot to like about it. So this bike is 100% stock. I haven't added anything except the luggage and some stickers. So it's got the stock Metzler Carew Streets. They're not the worst tires I've ever used on gravel, but they're not fabulous either. There's no, like, they have decent lugs, like grooves for getting forward traction, but there's like no side-to-side traction it's very minimal. So also, I'll just give you a little sneak preview. Gravel mode on this bike sucks. I've used it before. Like I said, I got in about, 10 miles of gravel, just testing stuff and figuring out how all the modes work before I came out and did this longer ride. And gravel mode is great if you're afraid of gravel. So if you don't want to slide out in a corner, you're afraid of low siding, whatever, you're a street rider who never gets on the gravel, and you want to just feel like the computer's got your back, it's great for that. But if you like to ride gravel fast and fun, which I do, it's awful. Even on level 1, the traction control is too aggressive. You can't like spin the back tire at all. It's not like a super intuitive off-road traction control like you see on the Norden and the Triumph and some of the other more off-roady bikes. So I just shut it all the way off. I don't mind the off-road ABS. It's a little bit less aggressive than the road ABS, but I haven't thoroughly tested it, so we'll see it today. I don't generally mind a little ABS off-road. Like, I don't usually bother to turn it off, especially because it's always a pain in the ass, because every time you stop you got to turn it off again, whatever. So I usually run it on the Tenere, and I did on the Norden, and every bike I have that has it off-road, but we'll see. I don't know how aggressive it is on this. It's a lot of the electronics and computer stuff seem more street bikey to me, so it may be too aggressive. We'll see. So full luggage setup, because like I said, we're going camping. So I've got the Great Basin and the Tillamook, the Diablo tank bag on here, and I guess the other mod I did was there's a GoPro mount. She is otherwise stock. I haven't even taken the rubber out of the foot pegs. Here it is, the end of the pavement finally. Okay, I'm gonna put it in user mode because gravel mode sucks, like I said. Okay, TC is all the way off. I'm gonna just leave the ABS on and see how I feel about it. So as I mentioned, these Metzler tires are not fabulous. There's actually 2 stock tire options for this bike. The Metzler Carews and the Dunlop Mix Tours. And the Dunlop Mix Tours are hot garbage. I mean, they're fine on the street, and they're probably marginally better than a street tire off-road, but had them on the 500X and really was not a huge fan. Okay, so this right here, this spot is not taken, so I could have camped here tonight. This is the spot where Duckfan and I camped with Starbuck, and she ran off up the road. Super cool. It's a really neat spot. It has a fire pit and everything. And the river's right there, or at least a creek. Although there's a spot back there that's leveled out for a tent. And there's a toilet up there in the woods, but we're not here for toilets. We're here to ride off-road, you know? We're here to test out this Transalp on at least some gravelly roads on the Orbiter. This is kind of pretty. Especially now, with the foliage. Water source, says the sign. No shit. You may be asking yourself, you're on the BDR, where's your navigation? Well, I'm just that good. I don't need it. I mean, that's technically true, but there's not a lot of turns on this section. So there's one turn I'm not 100% sure where it is. So I will pull my phone out for that, but otherwise I kind of just know this section because I've ridden it enough times. Huh, that's surprisingly stiff on the forks. I know how to get where we're going, so. Okay, let's talk about standing position while we have a little bit of gravel here. I actually am not unhappy with where the bars are for standing. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure I need risers. I don't usually put them on adventure bikes. Tank is a good width for just kind of gripping with your knees. I think because the pegs are a little higher, because I definitely feel a little more cramped in the seated position because the seat's lower. So standing is great, feels very comfortable. Okay, none of these are huge potholes, but I was expecting a lot more dive in the front. It feels pretty stiff, honestly. The rear preload is adjustable, and I've cranked it up a couple notches just because I'm heavy and I'm running all this gear. But I did expect the front fork to be squishier just based on my experience with the 500X and the CRF 300L and like every other freaking Honda off-road bike, as it were. Well, that's surprising, pleasantly surprising. Happy about it. What's up, random dude in the middle of the woods? Hope you're not burying a body. If you are, I got you on camera, so I guess if anyone lost a body and they think it might be buried up here, let me know. The seat is definitely a streetier seat, so like in terms of sliding back and forth to lean the bike underneath you, could be better, but it's, again, I just don't think this is a street bike that is pretty good off-road. It's not a purpose-built off-road bike. I don't think anyone thinks it is, or at least you shouldn't think it is. Okay, well, that section is short now. We're on Highway 22 for a while, so I'll catch up with you when we get back off-road. Working on a new segment on the channel. It's ADV boating. What do you think? I think we could take this off some sweet jumps. If you dump garbage, you're garbage. That should be the new slogan. Anyway, we're on the highway for about 5 minutes, and now we're off. And it's boring, so I didn't film it. Honestly, I'm pretty sure this is it. Looks very familiar, but just to be safe, we better check the map. Okay, I appear to be right here. Yep, this is my turn, and it looks like I follow it all the way to the intersection I'm aware of there. Okay, this is the road. Cool. I guess I do sort of have this section memorized. That's helpful. I wouldn't normally run without navigation. Okay, that's not me like flexing. I just, again, totally stock. There's nowhere to even mount a phone right now. So eventually I'll have a quad lock mount on here and it'll all be good. But right now, nothing. So that's part of the reason why I chose a route that I know by heart, or pretty close to by heart. More off-road, please. Really thought I would hate this suspension more, but I kind of don't. Okay, going up this rain rut on purpose. It's honestly doing fine. It's doing good. Shockingly okay. This gravel's super loose. Yeah, with the TC off. I mean, it's reasonable traction going forward with these Karoos. They don't hate that. I don't know what the steering traction is going to be like. I don't love the look of the front tire, to be honest. Ooh, okay. I was able to pop the front up over that little pothole. That's helpful. Or one big difference between this bike and the Tenere, I can tell you, is this one has to stay in the power band. It's a lot revier. It likes to be between 4,000 and 5,000 to really make maximum power, so you have it to do things like pop that front end up a little to get over an obstacle. So this has a real definite rev range. It likes to be 3,500 to, at minimum, at least. It seems like. I'm still figuring it out, so forgive me if that's not totally precise. Okay, that ABS kicked in there in a way that I didn't enjoy. And the Tenere's just got torque everywhere. It's just got this very grunty engine. Again, it's more purpose-built for off-road than this. This is a really nice street bike that they've made reasonably capable off-road, I feel like. This is my working hypothesis. It's less forgiving if you're in the wrong gear and you screw up and you need a bump and you don't have it. You can't just get it anyway. The Tenere, you just twist the throttle more and it's usually there. This one, not so much. I am surprised the suspension is as stiff as it is. Pleasantly surprised. I really thought we were going to be diving into all of these potholes, and we're not. It's not bad, honestly. One advantage to this bike that the Tenere doesn't have is if you're in the wrong RPM, which is harder on the Tenere, But on this bike, it's got a quick shifter, so I don't even need to worry about getting the clutch or anything. I can just kick down and it'll kick me into the lower gear, and I probably am in the right rev range. You have to have enough time to have screwed up and then hit it down and still have not yet hit the thing you're trying to get up and over or whatever. So it just requires a little more thinking than the Tenere, but you know, Tenere's got more ground clearance. Tenere's got lots more things, but again, that's a purpose-built off-road bike that's also decent on the road. This thing is the opposite of that. I can't wait to get some protection on it so I can really push it. Like, I don't even want to kind of slide on these tires right now, because if it goes down, like, that's my fairing, that's the undercarriage, that's the exhaust, that stupid oil sump, like, probably going to break a lever, screw up the bar end, because there's no protection, not even hand guards, which catch, I feel like 80% of the damage when you do something stupid. Oh man, we gotta stop and take pictures. We gotta stop and take pictures. Look at this. Whew. That is something, man. Beautiful. This would be a hell of a place to camp. I wish it wasn't right on the road, but there was a little offshoot road over there, so maybe you can camp on the backside. This is Tule Lake. This is literally the BDR right here, so you can't miss it. Look at that beautiful Transalp. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Another thing I don't hate about the Transalp, shockingly, is the stock pegs are pretty wide. And I haven't taken the rubber out yet, but they're way better than some of the other stock pegs on bikes that I've used. So you can see the grooves here. They're pretty thick, like they're pretty wide, which is good for forward traction. It just doesn't give you a lot of side to side with this tire design. Like, I would take this in sand probably, knowing that I'm going to be able to at least get forward traction. Now the front kind of sucks on gravel. Same thing, like it'll keep going in a straight line because, again, deep grooves, but the side to side grooves are a lot shallower and they're not as wide. So I'm not like a traction engineer, but that's what I gather from that. Back at it. Let's see if I have to turn the traction control off again. Yeah, I don't know why it thinks my user mode has it on, because I'm pretty sure if you go into the menu, it doesn't. I shouldn't have to keep messing with that. Okay, it's off now. Let's try a first gear, kind of. Well, it's not bad. It's crawlable. You know, at first I thought the exhaust sound sucked, but it's actually not bad when you romp on it. I do think that the intake noise is better than the exhaust noise. I do think the Tenere has the best stock exhaust sound. Basically any adventure bike I've ever ridden. I love the exhaust note, but this one, when you romp on it, isn't bad. I'll take it. I'll take it. Here's a shitty rain rut in a corner. Yeah, okay. Could have been worse. Could have been worse. Not having TC on is nice. Honestly, it's not spinning the tire a hell of a lot unless you really, really try to. So I realize fast gravel is not like the ultimate test, but it does give me at least a good idea of how well it's going to do on a loose surface, and it's where I build the most confidence in a motorcycle before I start doing more stuff that's looser, because I can predict how it's going to react, how it's going to slide, you know. I mean, you can't tell everything from this kind of riding, but I'm not unhappy with it thus far. Slide her out a little. I got to really get over on the seat. It's, again, not made for it. It's wide for comfort, but that makes it harder to pop yourself from side to side and put the crack on the edge, if you know what I'm saying. Okay, I might say it. I might say it. If you guys surprised it's taking me this long to say it, this bike's kind of confidence inspiring. I mean, we're going 50 on a gravel road. I feel pretty good. I'll try standing up a bit more. How does it lean under you? Maybe I don't like the sides of this tank. It might need a grip of some kind. I like it for going downhill because you can lock in behind the flare and push against it, but it's hard to grip it without your legs sliding back. It's got to bend more. Yeah, because when I bend, it's really like in a weird spot. I don't know. I need to run it without the tank bag and see how it feels. Well, I do think she'll do 80 to 90% of what most of you are interested in doing really easily. Okay, we're going this way. And I think that's what Honda was going for. They don't feel the need to chase KTM and try to create products that compete with them. In fact, the only Japanese manufacturer that seems to be even trying it is Yamaha with the Tenere, and they're trying to make a bike that's as capable or close to as capable, but a lot cheaper and more reliable, and I think that's smart. But Honda's not even trying to compete with that with this bike, and I think that was the mistake that I made. At first, I made a whole video actually explaining that mistake, but didn't realize I was making a mistake yet. And a lot of the comments I'm getting are around that, like, oh, it's stupid, ground clearance, no. Yeah, they're not trying to compete with the Tenere. I think that's obvious. If you look at the exhaust, it's obvious. Like, Honda is not stupid. They're not aggressive business-wise, but they're not stupid. There's no way a team of Honda engineers were like, we're going to make the most capable off-road bike ever, and then they slap an underslung exhaust and a shark fin oil sump that sticks out 4 inches below the engine casing. There's just no way. It's just not a thing. Like, it's intentional, because Honda's trying to capture the middle. They're not trying to get the most hardcore. They don't care about that. Those people buy KTMs anyway. Honda's never been that company. But the middle, the average rider, the weekend warrior, those are the people that are going out and spending money on adventure bikes right now. And this is a great bike for that. And it has a wide range of capability. Because I ride a lot. I'm fortunate. I'm lucky. I get to do this for a job. So I put a lot of hours and a lot of miles on my motorcycles all year long. And most people, and again, I know there are outliers, and some people just need to realize that not everything is made for them and shut up. But what was I going with that? Oh, yeah. Again, I'm an intermediate rider. I'm probably slightly above average just by virtue of all of my experience now. And I think this bike is fun and can do just about anything I would want to do. Like, I could break it, probably, going in some super technical stuff in stock form, but well protected. I mean, this thing's going to get me through everything I want to do, and then 90% of the time I'm not even going to notice that it is less capable than my Tenere, which I could be on. The other 10% of the time I'm just going to go slower or pick a better line or whatever. I would say I'm above average, like I said. So if there's like a 60%, 70% in the middle, where there's 15% below of just people that are true beginners that shouldn't be on a bike like this, and 15% above of people that are just like amazingly spectacular and would be bored on a bike like this. 70% of us in the middle will really enjoy this bike. I feel like it does a lot for those 70%. You know, if you're never going to go on a hard enduro stump jumping trail, like this bike will do, I would do the BDR on this bike. With some protection, I would do the Oregon BDR. I would go back to Washington and do it on this bike. I would feel good about it with protection. Is it the most capable adventure bike? No. Is an 890 going to do everything faster and better? Yeah. Except be as comfortable on the road and stuff, and maintenance intervals and all the other things that Honda has going for it. But I think they made this bike for the masses, made this bike for the people that actually are the ones out there riding. Not the keyboard warriors who were like, that's not powerful enough for me, even though they never leave their couch. Just last time I checked, has 0 horsepower. And I think they're going to do really well with it. I really do. I think they're going to sell a ton of these if they can get them out there, because it's just good enough to be fun without any of the disadvantages. I didn't explain that very well, but this is not the review video. This is me rambling while doing an off-road test in the woods. The more I ride it, the more comfortable I feel on it. What else do you want to know about off-roading on this bike? And it's beautiful in here. Look at this. Look at the colors, man. I love riding in the fall. It just makes me sad because it's like a fuse has been lit and it's a ticking time bomb and you're about to run out of time, you know. Winter will be here. Like this is not rideable in the winter. Got good usable power. I need to get into some more slower technical stuff to really evaluate. People are always complaining about the low end not being as good, and I know it does want to be in a certain rev range, but I haven't really had to like crawl and clutch control it through stuff much, so it's hard to say. But I'm pleasantly surprised by the suspension, shockingly. Especially fully loaded, I thought we'd be bottoming out like crazy on things, and it's actually not bad. It's not the worst bike I've ever ridden. I actually enjoy it. I think it feels very light when you move it around. Like, it doesn't feel unwieldy like an Africa Twin, and it's only like 50 pounds lighter. It's easy to get on and off of, and easy to get your feet down. Easier than the Tenere on both scores. Of course, the seat is lower, so that's why, less ground clearance, less suspension travel, lower seat. I do think the seating position is a little cramped. Not like uncomfortably so. I just noticed that my knees are bent more on this bike than they are, say, on the Tenere or the 450L, but those bikes are a lot taller. So it's a more accessible, reasonably capable adventure bike. I will say I rode this same section on the 500X, and this is much faster. I mean, partially because of the bike and the suspension, but the tires help. Oh, yeah, that was good. I'm glad it does that. I definitely like it. I like it a lot, honestly. Surprised, because I think I told you, like, it was originally just for content. That was the idea, but I don't know, man. I might keep it. I always think that. I really need to ride it in the Tenere back to back. Yeah, those are my very extended first impressions off-road, or at least off the pavement, for the very first time on the new Transalp 750. If you have questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. It's the kind of thing I'd like to try to answer in the full review video. Once I get this to 1,000 miles, I'm not going to review it before then. Trying to crank out a ton of Transalp content, so if you're interested in more Transalp content, please consider subscribing. We also do moto camping and general ADV riding and dual sporting. And also, please hit that like button, because I'm the dork in the road and I want to be your internet riding buddy. And I'm better than your regular riding buddies because I come with a mute button. Yeah, how many of your buddies can say that? None. So we're about, I don't know, 10 miles from Detroit. Ooh, that was a good handlebar turner. I hit a big rock there, obviously. And it should be smooth sailing from here on out, I hope. But yeah. So I'm going to let it go and move on to the camping portion of today's festivities. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that video. And check out the road test if you haven't yet. We hit some really cool twisties earlier today. But for now, and as always, I just want to say thank you very much for watching. And please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!
There's a little front slide. Not too much. But I could feel it. Oh yeah, we're almost to the lake now. You can tell by all the yahoos up here. What the hell are they doing? That makes me feel like a badass when there's a two-wheel drive car up here. Cute dog though.